the biggest key, I think, was defense and staying together. I think, we had to understand their team, they're going to go on runs. And it's about not folding, but, like, their team, they can go down by 20, and they're going to have the same energy no matter what. They're going to keep playing. So I think it was about being composed and just stopping their runs.
Sarah, watching you, I mean, the way you were shooting, you were obviously in the zone. And the first thing I thought was like the last dance. And Jordan's talking about, I took that personally. When you look at last year and the way the matches went with Oklahoma, did that feel like more than just your average Big 12 game for y'all?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think any game, but I think, I went into that game personally. I don't forget. I remembered that they beat us 0-2, and I was just determined, like, I wasn't going home with a loss today.
How much confidence are you personally playing with?
Playing with a lot of confidence, but I think it comes from my team and my coaches. When you have people behind you that are celebrating you through misses and makes, it makes your job easy. And they trusted me to put the ball in the hole in the toughest time. So I think it's about having a team and the staff behind me.
Was Tuesday night big for you, Sarah?
It was, first time playing like that. I just felt like everything I shot was going in, and I just felt like my team put me in a position to play like that.
So are you Batman now?
I'm Batman when I need to be, but hey, it's about no matter if I have 30 or 0 or 2, I'm going to do whatever I need to do that night. And that Tuesday night, I had to have 30. I felt like for us to win. So no matter what I got to do for us to win, I'm going to do it.
Erica, what do you see from the team over here? What do you see from the team kind of getting that win and getting back on track in Norman?
It was just a lot of fun. We hit a lot of shots. We made a lot of defensive stops, and my team, as well as the coaches, had a lot of great energy. So we know we had to win this game. It was a top 25 matchup. We're in the Big 12 now. We're in conference. So it was a lot of fun.
Erica, we talked about it after the game, but because there were so many people in foul trouble, there was some lineups that we really hadn't seen y'all use. I think Cap played the 4 for a while, and obviously you got some big minutes. To be in a game like that, in a Big 12 game, and to contribute and everything, just how good does that feel?
It feels great because in the past I wasn't getting a lot of minutes, and it's really important to be ready at all times. So I know this game was important. I know what I had to do, and I know we had to, know our role or know my role. So.
Erica, most of your damage came on the boards, which was needed. How do you carry that over into a game like you're going to see with Kansas where they dominate the boards?
Again, just working, boxing out. You have to box out and grab boards. Rebounds are important. Second chances. And yeah, that's basically it. Just staying disciplined.
Sarah, Nikki's been talking about this Kansas game virtually since before the season started. How big is the emphasis coming into this next game, and has she kind of relayed that to you guys?
It's big. They play a lot downhill. They're going to rebound the ball. They're relentless on the boards, and I think we got to guard our yard a lot this game, but we do got to rebound. They're going to match up with us guard-wise. They might be a little bigger. Holly has the up and under. I think it's so many different actions we got to guard. But I think, we guarded some of that playing Oklahoma, so it kind of set us up with, like, the flares and certain stuff we've seen throughout the season, I think has set us up to play in this game.
Sarah, what do you think your biggest development has been from last year to right now?
My biggest development is, I think, confidence and just knowing, like, you got to bring it every night. And there's going to be some games where you got to take over, and there's going to be some games you got to score 10 or 0 or 2. It's just about doing whatever you need to do and, like, not being afraid to get on my teammates and be like, hey, we got to get it together and pick us up in moments where we feel like we're down and just being that leader that I need to be.
Erica, that was y'all's first true road game. You had neutral site games and stuff, but does that give y'all a little more confidence going to Kansas and having one under your belt?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been having a lot of home games, so I guess we needed this away game for us to prepare for the future. But I don't think we're intimidated. We'll be ready, preparing in practice, staying focused, knowing our personnel.
How do you keep yourself mentally prepared when you're sitting over there and you don't know for sure when you're going in?
Yeah.
There's no real rotation there, but just when you're called upon, how do you keep yourself mentally ready?
Just remembering what we go over in practice and just watching my teammates that are on the court and watching what they are doing, what they're not doing, and seeing what I can do to help when I get called in.
What have y'all seen from Kansas so far?
I saw them, play downhill. I think they're at their best when they're in the paint. The 15 Zakai, she has that little 15, that floater. She has the floater she can shoot. She can shoot the jump shot, and I think she can throw the ball on the dime across the court. She's a good passer. You have Holly, who can shoot the three, but she can get you on your feet and play in your body and get fouls. And you have one that can play on the board. Like, they have so many different pieces that can hurt you a little bit. So I think, we'll match up with them good. So as far as post and as guard-wise, I think we'll be fine.
Sarah, is the step back something you've always had, or was that something you're working on?
It's been in the bag a little bit, but it's just something about when you see one go in and two, it's just, I think the hoop just got bigger, honestly. I think, the last one I felt like I shot, I really didn't even look at the rim. I just felt like it was going in. It was just one of those things where I was like, I've worked on it. I have it in my bag. And I was like, this is what you do. Like, that's a game I like to play. And I like to play in games where the crowd is like that, where OU's a tough team. Like, those are just moments I live for and moments you'll remember.
The end of the third, when you hit that one that Jaden threw to you, are you just sitting there like, like that kind of thing? I mean,
Yeah. No, I mean, well, honestly, like, I didn't know you had two shooters. You had either me or Jamie. I was going to celebrate whether Jaden or Jamie scored, but I was just like, if I got it, it was going in. Like, no matter what, it was going up. I was just like, it's going in if I get it. So, yeah, I was ready.
The first quarter of that game was really the difference. Was that kind of the mindset going in to jump on them early and really kind of steal their style of play and flip it on them?
I think our coaches said sometimes going on the road, you got to be 15 points better because you got to play against them and their crowd. And also, we're on their home court, so the refs, the game get a little chippy. They can be on their side. But I think that initial punch gave us some cushions for when they did go on those runs. We had a little bit of cushion where we could work with and, like, hey, they didn't go up by 10. We were always up and had a little cushion in that moment. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I mean, think about a year ago if we'd had 3 people foul out. I would have been asking Chloe to put some shoes on. Yeah, I mean, and all at the same position. I think that was the, kind of the unique part was Caitlin and Bella and Bugs. Really, Jaden was never in foul trouble until she was out, almost, because they all came, like kind of in quick succession. But, I think we hung on. I mean, I'm maybe too forthright in my press conferences. I don't know. People ask me questions and I answer. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm not, I talk about the game and not just say, oh, we played hard or we did this or that. But, we really were good in the first quarter. We were good defensively. We turned them over. We got easy baskets. We moved the ball against their man, and then it was Caitlin went out and it came to a screeching halt, in the second quarter. And so we had to remind ourselves that we still had the lead going into halftime, because it's very easy to have such a good quarter and to be clicking on all cylinders and then, kind of limp into the locker room at halftime. But you're on the road in a top 25 matchup and you're ahead, so we really, even as a staff, had to remind ourselves, hey, when we go in there, we want to talk about the positives. What do we got to fix? But the positives of where we're at and not get hung up on the fact that, hey, we had a 12-point, we had a 14, we had this big lead, and now we're sitting where we're at. We've got a lead. We're on the road. Let's just keep getting stops, and good things will happen. And so, to have to play Katarina. Tony said after the game, he's like, it was like you were at the park drawing plays in the dirt. Because, when we had Katarina at the 4, she's never run the 4 for us, but they were playing small, so it was a better way for us to go, but I was just trying to move people around and get people that could shoot in spots where they might get a shot and get people who could pass. And, it was, so yeah, we did enough defensively and just enough offensively, to pull off a really good road win. Yeah, they're so different, how they play is different, personnel is different, your worries are totally different, not any less or more significant, because, you worry about Oklahoma's pace and ability to shoot the 3. We got out-rebounded by OU, and we're getting ready to play a team that ranks 7th in the nation in rebounding, and Jackson, seems to go get almost 20 every game. And so, their length, Kerskeeter and has been so good. Franklin's been unbelievable. Last year we didn't guard her from the arc, and now, even though she's not high volume, is shooting 45% from three. And so I think the thing about them is their system is totally different than OU's. I would say what he does, Brandon, is way more similar to what we do. He's just got different pieces and can play through the low post a little more than we can with Jackson. And quite frankly, I'm not gonna butcher her name, but they're Greek power forward that always seems to have a really, really good game against us. I just it's the rebounding, it's the paint touches for them that are going to be a big challenge. And they're 13-1, and that game they lost in double overtime on the road, so they're really confident.
They're undefeated at home. What do you think makes them so successful inside of Allenfield House?
Yeah, it's just where you get comfortable. I think personally they're comfortable everywhere right now. They look pretty comfortable in Tucson. So I think they are a team that has all their key components back from last year. I think they believe in what they do. Defensively, last year they were an ice team, one of the few we faced, and they got better as the season went along at it, and now they have a year under their belt doing it. So I think they're just better at it. I think last year sometimes they weren't sure what they were going to get from that third guard spot with Thomas or Brasso or some of their other players that aren't there now. And I think Mayberry has kind of given them a little more consistency from that spot if they want to go that way. And Prather's had a really good year, so she can swing between 3 and 4 and is versatile enough that she gives you certain really good looks at the 3 and other really good looks at the 4. And so I think they're hard to beat anywhere right now just because of their system and their personnel. And last year at times, Jackson took possessions off. Sometimes that's just and this year I feel like she's just, I think I showed about a 2-minute highlight clip before we played Arizona of how she pursued the ball off the rim on offensive rebounds against a really, really good rebounding team in Arizona with Kate Reese and Martinez. And so, that's going to be a huge, huge challenge for us because she doesn't take a lot of possessions off this year.
Nikki, obviously, Trey just made her announcement. How badly does this team want to see her play, and kind of how are you guys rallying around her in this moment?
Yeah, I've always wanted to stay really. It's Dre's story. We certainly knew when we signed her that there were no guarantees, and we had talked about worst case scenario from that very moment. When you transfer to Baylor, and Baylor's not the only school like this, but the 60-hour rule, and all of a sudden, you lose 40 credits, and now all of a sudden you got to work progress towards degree. I think for me, I'm just super proud of what she's accomplished since she's been here. She's been a leader. She's obviously a great basketball player, but above and beyond that, she's been a great teammate. What she's done in the classroom shows what she's capable of. To take as many credits she did this summer and this fall, to take 18 credits this fall, and to get a 3.6 just in the fall semester while rushing a sorority. I don't even know what that means because I never did it, but I've heard it's a lot of work. And so, when I think about everything that she's done, I would just love to see her be rewarded because she's a kid that loves the game. She doesn't cheat the game. But it's not in my hands, and it's never been in my hands. She's done what she can do, I would love to see her be able to play. We had multiple, since I've taken the job, we've had 2 4-4-4 transfers, Chrislyn Carr and McDaniel, and their situations were different, but all needed waivers to play. And they're both playing. Chrislyn Carr's at her fourth school in 5 years. And so, you just want to see kids play and love what they do. And certainly, I've said from the beginning, we're going to be okay one way or the other. I want this for Dre more than I want it for me. Selfishly, obviously, she would make us a better team. But, yeah.
Is this a credits issue, or is it just a waiver needed from Kentucky?
No, it was multi-layered. It was multi-layered up until now. I think what people need to understand is there's a one-time transfer exception. She doesn't qualify for that. She's a two-time transfer. So when I say 444, started at Utah, went to another 4-year school, came to Baylor. So 3 4-year schools. So she doesn't qualify for the one-time transfer exception. And she doesn't qualify as a grad transfer because she didn't graduate. And so she needs a waiver to play from Kentucky. She met her progress towards degree requirements by taking all the credits she took here. So she checked off the academic piece of this. But, there are no guarantees.
Nikki, how much of an asset has she been just in terms of in practice? And I see her engaged in the games and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, she's just obviously has a great smile. It's if I need her to be a post player and dominate our post players, she does that on the scout team. If we need her to be a big three, she does that. I made her run the point against Oklahoma, just because, quite frankly, we were down numbers and needed our 3 guards to play together on the defensive side of the ball. And so she's been someone that's just been willing to do whatever she's asked to do. I mean, it's a kid who wants to be great. She wants to improve in areas that she's not as good in. That's part of our conversation has been, how do we prepare you for next year? How do we prepare you for the next level? You're certainly an undersized 5, so we've got to continue to build on those perimeter skills. And so that's what we're going to do in practice. That's what we're going to do. And so she's just been, I said it before, she's been a great teammate, and obviously a great basketball player. But, as much as anything, I'm just really, really proud of what she's done in the classroom here, because it's been pretty remarkable. Baylor's not a walk in the park kind of academic institution, and for her to take the number of hours she has and succeed at the level she has, I mean, she's been motivated. But it's still really, really impressive what she's done.
If she goes through the rest of this year and Kentucky doesn't sign the waiver, is there like a statute of limitations? Does she automatically become eligible?
Yeah, she's actually serving her year in residence. And so when we talk about the olden days, I would have fallen into the olden days where, before the one-time transfer exception or any other kids have been getting signed off on waivers for years. They all look different. There's a lot of different types. Quite frankly, when I played, you just transferred and sat out your year, right? And for some people, that was really good, But I think you only were able to play right away if you got a waiver. And, back then it tended to be I'm transferring closer to home because I've got a family member who's sick, or, they just – and, I think part of the one-time transfer exception came in play because the NCAA was tired of dealing with waivers and, there being a waiver for everything. And so, so at the end of once she serves her year in residence, she would be eligible to basically play her COVID year next year.
On Sarah, with no Asia out there, with no Dre out there, I mean, it seems like she has become the go-to player, offensively for y'all. I don't know if you expect 30 out of her every game, but where's her confidence at?
I think what Sarah needs to do is feel every game out. I think she needs to know when we need 14 assists out of her, like we did against Long Beach, and when we need 30 points, And I'll continue to say this. She made really big shots for us, and she made tough shots. I don't want her to fall in love with that because I think there's times when the best thing she can do is get a paint touch for us and get it to an open shooter, drop it off, really attack the paint and hit a roller. And so I think by nature of their zone and the things that they were doing, and the ball being in her hands late in shot clocks. I mean, there's always going to be that ability to be creative, and but I think what Sarah needs to do is simply be able to understand the game. And if she understands the game and the game plan and how she's being played and who's open, every defense is different, and some are more similar to others. But how people play us, what they're willing to give us, being a good offensive team comes down to executing and getting the ball to the most open person. I mean, when you look at us, say, versus Kansas, Kansas is last in our league in assisted baskets. Doesn't mean they're a selfish team. Just stylistically, they play off the bounce, they attack. They're a great offensive rebounding team. You're not going to get an assist on an offensive rebound. So by nature of how they play, they don't assist on a lot of their baskets. On the flip side, we're number one in terms of percentage of our baskets that are assisted in the Big 12. So if we're going to continue to be good offensively, it's about sharing the basketball and getting the ball to the most open person. And we got ourselves in trouble early in the year last year when the ball, they felt like they had to give it to Liz every time, as if I told them there is no Velcro on Liz's hands in the ball. She'll catch it, but she's going to get 20 and 20, every game. She's going to get them. I need you to make the right play. And the right play sometimes is going to be to throw it to Liz. And sometimes the right play, is for you to take a shot, Sarah, for Jordan to take a shot, or for us to feed the post and throw it to Queen. So this team still has to be the same way, I mean, I know Bugs fouled out in 10 minutes of play and didn't get a ton of opportunities. But when the right play is a drop pass to Bugs and she goes 1 for 1 on a layup, that's the right play. I don't care that she hadn't scored a basket, that whole game. I think everyone on our team is capable of laying the ball in the basket. And, the lift we got from Erica, the offensive rebounds, the additional fouls that she gave us, I just think, we need to just continue to keep growing and figuring out. I was put in a tough situation from a rotation perspective. And somehow, I think sometimes that can be a catalyst to give the kid the confidence to be good the next time you give him a chance, I mean, it's, Erica's struggled a little bit in the minutes she's played. And so for her to go in and play, 10 good minutes and to really impact the game, I think that just gave her confidence walking onto the practice court today, So I just think that's how this game works, in terms of how important the mental part of the game is.
How different is it being 2-0 at this point in the conference schedule versus 0-2 like last year?
I'd be lying if it's not better to be 2-0. I mean, I think where we were sitting last year, we were soul searching. We were, but gosh, we turn around and we go play at Kansas, and we know how difficult that that obviously was the game that got us our first win, and it took a bit of a miracle ending to get there, and so I don't think that all it means is we're not playing catch up right now, but I think because the league is so good and there's so much parity. Oklahoma State is 0-2, but has played 2 really good games so far. And I don't think people realize that the transfer impact that they have and their style that they'd be doing as well as they are right now. But it's really easy to get on a 2-game skid in this league, regardless of whether it's at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. And so, we're just going to continue to try to grind and figure out against each team what we have to do to be able to compete with them. We'll be the underdog going into this game, again. And we've got to keep competing. We've got to keep that chip on our shoulder. I don't know that I believe in the conference championship runs through Waco kind of stuff. I think it's about, do you show up and compete every day? and do we do enough to win basketball games? I don't think there's a mystique at this point. I don't think the Baylor name gives you 4 points on the scoreboard to start the game. And so, we just have to claw and scratch and do whatever we have to do, and with whoever suits up every game. That's what we have to do.
You mentioned kind of individuals have been finding their identity as they get more minutes. What do you think this team is in sort of their identity as you kind of go into this?
I think unselfish. I mean, I think it's a team that, obviously, our whole bench, we lost our minds on the touchdown pass. But my favorite part about that play was the 4 players on the court that sprinted to pick Jamie up. That's who we need to be. We need to be that team that doesn't take a possession for granted, that doesn't take a teammate's diving on the floor or any of those things for granted. I mean, I think, it's about, reminding Bella after the last game that you had 1 basket, but we were plus 27 when you were on the floor. So we were a better team when you played today. So it's not about your stat line every game. I think that's what this team needs to be. It's got to be a team that only cares about the W and not about, who scored what or how many we scored or leading the nation in scoring. We need to be unselfish. We need to share the basketball. We need to be there for each other defensively. We had some of our best defensive possessions of the year, and then we had some bad ones against OU. And we've got to keep building on having more and more good defensive possessions. I mean, I think right now, we have to be good at taking away first and second options, and really being, I know that for years here, that there was less emphasis on opponent and more emphasis on this is who we are and this is what we do. And I would love to tell you that there will come a point in time where we'll continue to build this thing to the point where we can be that way, where we just are going to out-talent you when we step out onto the court. But I think this league has a lot of really, really good talent. And, 2 of our best players are in street clothes right now. And so we have to figure out, how to guard Jackson and how to guard Franklin downhill and not let Kirk Skeeter go off on us. And, we have to do those things. We just can't show up and say, we're Baylor, we're going to win the game. We have to take our opponents very, very seriously. And that's no disrespect to the past. I just think there are times when you have more talent that you can say, we just have to be our best version of ourselves today, and it doesn't matter who we play. And hopefully someday, my job will get a whole lot easier if I just know I'm going to walk in the gym every time I play, and I'm going to line up 10 players better than your 10 players, and we're just going to beat you because we have pride in the jersey that we're wearing, and we're going to go out and outplay you. Right now, we got to outwork you. We maybe have to outthink you. We've got to out-execute you. But at least I feel like, we have the pieces to be able to do that. I don't think we're just out there hoping and praying, that we have enough. I think we're good at our jobs, and I think we are going to instill confidence and game plans in our players that, we can give them the tools and tricks to help them win basketball games. And if they believe in each other, then we'll be okay.
You talked about drawing stuff up. I'm guessing you already had the Caitlin throw. Is that something you practiced?
Yeah, we haven't practiced it a lot. We certainly had. We used it.
I'm not sure I understand.
We used it against Texas last year once, coming out of a timeout. And, we had it in for Arizona and just never got to a point that we needed it. But we put it in for that game. So we hadn't practiced it since Arizona, so I certainly drew it up in that moment. I was just hoping that as long as that replay review was whose ball it was going to be, that it was going to end up being our ball. And the only thing frustrating was they had told us the ball was on the other side, and I probably could have argued with them that that's where they were standing. And so when you draw it up, I wanted I wanted Sarah running to the ball side so that if it wasn't open, that we were getting it into a point guard. But yeah, it's in there. I just moved pieces around. I felt like Jamie is, if you just line her up, she's our fastest player. So just put our fastest against them. And it wasn't an easy matchup because they put Todd on her, and had Maddie Williams over the top. So I think sometimes you run that play and it doesn't take a perfect pass because everyone's, worried about, really being aggressive and denying the inbounds pass, and then you get something easy. That took a pinpoint perfect pass for that to work. So it was probably one of those plays that the right play was actually just to throw it to Sarah, who was wide open, and we get it inbounds. But it sure was fun to watch. She still was not at practice today. We hope to have her back tomorrow, but I don't anticipate she'll travel. But she is doing better. All right, thanks.